Good morning, scholars. Happy Wednesday. We are on our third lesson of our animal classification unit. By the end of today, you will turn in Wednesday, October 7th, ELA. Today we'll start off by reading chapter 3. Then I'll have a short read aloud. We'll go over some more nouns, verbs, and adjectives. And then we'll finish up with an exit ticket. So the first thing I want to do today is review what we learned yesterday about vertebrates and invertebrates. What is the biggest difference between these two groups? Vertebrates have backbones, spines. We are vertebrates. Invertebrates do not have backbones. Vertebrates are birds, fish, mammals, amphibians, and reptiles. Those are the 5 animal groups. Invertebrates are insects or bugs, and we know that 95% of all animals are invertebrates. They're also arachnids, so those are spiders, crustaceans, so think like crabs, lobsters, and then snails, jellyfish, and earthworms are invertebrates. So right now I'm going to show you some pictures, and I want you to think, does this animal have a backbone? Are they a vertebrate or an invertebrate? A horse is a vertebrate. They have a backbone. What about a butterfly? A butterfly does not have a backbone. They are an invertebrate. What about a snake? Snakes are vertebrates. They are reptiles, so they are actually part of those 5 animal groups of vertebrates. What about a lobster? I said to think of lobsters and crabs. That's a crustacean. It does not have a backbone. It has an exoskeleton, so that's an invertebrate. What about a goldfish? A goldfish is a vertebrate. They are part of the animal group fish that are under the column of vertebrates, so they do have a backbone. What about an earthworm? That's an invertebrate. They do not have a backbone. So we're going to go ahead and move into chapter 3. We're going to learn more about the difference between vertebrates and invertebrates. Some vocabulary words you need to know before we get started. Spine, say it. Spine, and that's a backbone. That's what we're talking about when we refer to vertebrates. And vertebrates, those are animals that have a backbone. Invertebrates are animals that do not have a backbone. So let's get started.
Chapter 3. Vertebrate or Invertebrate. Rattenborough here again. You have learned that scientists who study the animal kingdom classify animals into different groups based on different characteristics. Some characteristics scientists study are what makes up the animal's skin, such as hair or scales, whether animals give birth to live babies or lay eggs, whether mothers feed their babies milk from their own bodies, whether animals are warm-blooded or cold-blooded. Another key characteristic that scientists study is whether animals have a backbone. Animals that have a backbone are called vertebrates. Humans are vertebrates. Place your hand on the back of your neck until you feel a bump. Now rub your hand up and down the middle of your back. Do you feel bumpy bones that run in a row down your back from your neck down to your waist? That's your backbone. Another name for a backbone is a spine. The backbone, or spine, wraps around and protects an important part of your body called the spinal cord. The spinal cord is a bundle of nerves. Messages travel up and down your spinal cord from your brain to other parts of your body. This is the way that your brain sends signals telling the other parts of your body what to do. Many other animals are also vertebrates. All mammals, reptiles, fish, and birds have a backbone, so they are all vertebrates. They have some type of spinal cord too. Animals with a backbone come in all different shapes and sizes. Apes, rhinos, horses, rabbits, bats, and yes, rats and humans too, are all mammals and vertebrates. Lizards, turtles, snakes, and crocodiles are reptiles and vertebrates. Huge sharks and tiny goldfish are also vertebrates. Small hummingbirds and large eagles are vertebrates too. But there are many more animals that do not have a backbone. Animals without a backbone are called invertebrates. Insects are the largest group in the animal kingdom. Insects are also the largest group of invertebrates. Insects include flies, wasps, beetles, cockroaches, ladybugs, and butterflies. Other kinds of invertebrates include earthworms and spiders. Some interesting invertebrates live in the sea. Lobsters, shrimp, and crabs do not have a backbone. The giant octopus is an invertebrate as well. Have you ever seen a jellyfish or a starfish? They are also invertebrates. So these animals do not have a backbone or spinal cord.
All right. Thank you, Rattenbarrow. So, how are vertebrates and invertebrates alike? They're both part of the animal kingdom, and they are both living things. How are vertebrates and invertebrates different? Vertebrates have backbones and invertebrates do not. How are all vertebrates alike? All vertebrates have backbones. How are all invertebrates alike? All invertebrates do not have backbones. So, if we were to fill in this chart using the words vertebrates, invertebrates, living things, and animals, what would go in this top box? Living things, because everything underneath it has to fit into that category. The one word that can describe all the others is living things. Vertebrates, invertebrates, and animals are all living things. Nothing else would be true in that top box. So that leads us to saying animals. So living things, we have animals. You could make an argument for animals in the top box, but we also know that plants are living things. So if we had the whole diagram, we would also see a branch off of living things that says plants, but we're just talking about animals. So we have living things, even smaller, we have animals. So underneath that, we would need to put vertebrates and invertebrates. So invertebrates and vertebrates are both animals, and animals are all living things. What is classification? We talked a little bit about this yesterday. A classification is a grouping together of things based on how they are alike, and then separating things based on how they are different. I'm going to start read aloud, and I want you to listen for examples of classification in today's read aloud. When you look at the outside of an animal, you can't see the backbone because it's on the inside, but sometimes you can tell where the backbone is. Under a vertebrate's skin, there's a ridge. This is the backbone or spine that starts near its head and runs all the way down back to its tail. Find your backbone again. Remember those bumpy bones? Each bump you feel is a separate vertebrae. They form a row from your neck all the way down to your tailbone. Your spine serves a very important purpose. Your spine protects your spinal cord, that large bundle of nerves that sends messages from your brain to every part of your body. Think how many insects there must be on the planet. They make up 3/4 of all the species in the animal kingdom. Can you name a few of the animals in the insect group? Flies, wasps, beetles, cockroaches, ladybugs, and butterflies are all insects. There are surely a lot more species of insects than there are species of amphibians, mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles, all put together. The largest group of invertebrates is made up of arthropods. Insects make up the largest group of arthropods. Another large group of arthropods includes arachnids. Spiders are arachnids, and so are ticks, daddy longlegs, and scorpions. Insects have 6 legs and 3 body parts. The ant in this image has very long antennae. They almost look like legs. In comparison, arachnids have 8 legs and 2 body parts. Instead of having flexible internal skeletons, all of the arthropods wear a tough exoskeleton or protective covering on the outside. I bet you can recognize some of these common examples of insects and arachnids. A crustacean is another type of invertebrate and also a type of arthropod. Crustaceans have exoskeletons and usually live in water. Copepods are the smallest of all crustaceans. They are barely visible, but they are a very important source of food for fish in the ocean. Some of the more common crustaceans include shrimp, lobsters, fiddler crabs, and blue crabs. These animals all have a hard exoskeleton which protects the body and keeps it from drying out. Snails, jellyfish, and earthworms are also invertebrates. Other spineless creatures include coral, sea anemones, and sea stars. Many invertebrates are small and hidden and may not even seem like animals, but they are by far the largest groups of animals populating the Earth. What a lot of ways there are to classify animals. The purpose of this classification system is to understand each organism better by the characteristics that make it unique. Vertebrates and invertebrates are 2 types of animals in the world of taxonomy. Look at this chart that shows how a group of familiar organisms are related to each other. On the top row, you can see a group of living organisms: a house cat, a mountain lion, a tiger, a seal, a turtle, a grasshopper, and a tree. In the next row, titled Kingdom, notice that one of the living organisms is no longer included there: the tree. The tree actually belongs to a different kingdom. This row now shows only organisms that are part of the animal kingdom. In the next row, titled Phylum, the grasshopper is no longer included. All of the rest of the animals represented here are vertebrates, part of the Chordata phylum. In looking at the class row, you may notice the turtle is no longer included. The turtle is in the reptile class, and all of the other animals shown are mammals. In the row labeled order, the mouse is not included because it's not a carnivore like the other animals shown. What's true about all the animals in the next row, family? That's right, they are all different types of cats. In the genus row, you can see that the house cat and the mountain lion are more closely related than the tiger. And the very last row represents one specific animal, a species of house cat. The process started out with many animals and ending up with just one is called process of elimination. As we went down the list, we eliminated or removed any animals that no longer had anything in common. So the species is the closest related group. So what is a vertebrate? It's an animal with a backbone. What's another name for the backbone in vertebrates? The spinal column. So all those little bones together are the spinal column. Why is the backbone or spinal column of vertebrates so important? What did it protect? It protects the bundle of nerves, the spinal cord, that carries messages to the brain. What very large group of animals is not in the vertebrate group? Insects. So we said that 95% of all animals are invertebrates, and insects are part of that group. So today we're going to continue looking at the parts of speech. We said nouns are words that name people, places, or things. There are common nouns that are general and not capitalized, and also proper nouns that are specific and are capitalized. Verbs show the action, so there are action words, what is happening. And adjectives are words that describe nouns. They might tell you what they look like, where they're located, or how many there are of a specific noun. So in this sentence, my green dinosaur sings silly songs. What are the nouns? There are two, dinosaur and songs. What are the adjectives? The words describing the nouns. Green and silly. And finally, what's the verb? Sings. That's what's happening. So, we will look at more examples of parts of speech in the future, but for today, our exit ticket is going to focus on vertebrates and invertebrates. The chart that you are working on, you have seen before in this lesson, so think back to when we went over this chart, and what you are going to be doing, you're going to place the words into the correct place on the chart. So all of these words are movable, the background won't move, so you just need to click on the word and move it into place. If you're not having much success dragging on your touchpad, you can always click on the word and then use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move it around. Drag it into place and see which is the overarching word. So what word goes at the very top and describes all the rest of the words? Then break it down even more. What fits into the next group of words? Do your best. When that's done, don't forget to turn it in. And another thing you can do once you are done with that, you should go over your spelling words. So that's step 2. Go through first your vertebrate. Step 2, maybe take the practice test that's linked in the spelling word document. See which words you miss, and then practice writing them down on a piece of paper. You can take that practice test as many times as you want. That way you are ready for Friday. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. So if you have any questions, please call or text me.